Welcome to the 12Ronnies podcast with me, Jake Shaw. Today I'm talking to Geoff Hudson-Searle of IBEM about leadership in the era of coronavirus and his new book, Purposeful Discussions. Geoff, could you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do? You have 30 seconds starting now.
Great. It's been a pleasure to be here, Jake. My name is Geoff Hudson-Searle. The best way to describe me is I'm a serial business advisor, non-executive director, executive director to the board, and author. I think that's probably the easiest way. Seasoned C-suite, worked over 160 countries around the world.
You know, obviously we're going through this coronavirus lockdown, which is changing a lot of ways that people are working. And you know, you've got some thoughts about how companies need to behave to survive this. Can you take me through your thoughts on that, Geoff?
I think it's a very interesting period we're through, and you know, whilst COVID-19 is rolling out and playing out across the continents, I think it's very important to realise that, you know, I don't see this. I see this as obviously a very damaging period economically, but I also see it as a period of time where we can't forget, you know, the past. And when I mean the past, I mean I was in the bank in the 80s when we had, you know, Black Friday, Black Monday, and, you know, obviously I saw the ratifications of what that did in the bank then. Obviously, the 1990s, the dot-com bubble, which again was another landmark event. Alan Greenspan wrote the book, and pretty much 2008 and 2009 was a blueprint around exactly what would took place in the double dip of 2008 and 2009. And now we've kind of got this, which is our direct reflection of things that didn't actually get sorted out in the first place. And I think people are panicking, naturally. They're in fear. They don't necessarily have the experience and not having the skills to take people through. Now, look, if you are a sustained chief exec and you're used to just taking the business 3 or 5% per annum in terms of growth forward, that's one thing. This is not a period of time or a period of change or transformation for that kind of individual. The kind of individual that, you know, you're going to need to have in this is someone that's actually been through the wars and has the ability, skills, and competence to drive companies to a new way of thinking, because it is all about change. It is all about moving, knowing exactly what has worked, what hasn't worked, and what, more importantly, needs to be put into place and executed. I hate where people, when they just talk theories to me and my theses, you know, I read research and I listen to our theses, of course, but you know, at the end of the day, the reality is execution. You're not going to survive in this period unless you're able to execute quickly. Everybody that I've spoken to at a very senior level over the last couple of weeks, it's all about going back to basics, getting back to business strategy, getting back to the thinking, getting the heads around the table, collaborating, working together, knowing what you can do and what you can't do, and moving pretty damn quickly. That is what is going to take people through. You know, we saw Flybe, obviously, and everyone said, oh, COVID. Yeah, fine. But, you know, there was a lot of problems with Flybe before the COVID crisis. And you know, it's like the money the government are giving away right now to everyone and their dog, when a lot of people don't deserve it, and the companies that do deserve it don't seem to get it. So I think, you know, we've got a lot of things going on right now. But for me, if you're not strategically having, you know, sort of strategic meetings with your senior people and your board now, and putting an action plan into place for immediate effect, then you're not going to survive the next year, let alone the next 10 years.
That's interesting, your thoughts there. This week I've been talking to quite a lot of CEOs and startup entrepreneurs. There was one in particular who was doing packaging, so recyclable, sustainable, ecologically sound packaging for airlines, airports and hotels. And of course that business has literally been cut out from under their feet. Another example is a local free sheet magazine that was all based on events and restaurant reviews and stuff like that. Once again, completely done in. What's interesting on both those examples is that they've literally pivoted their businesses so that the packaging company have immediately gone to helping people to put hand sanitizer in these things. So they've got them made. They can't sell them to the hotel, so they've pivoted and moved them off into that direction. And the local free sheet is endeavouring to turn itself into a local online TV channel via Facebook. That's people making decisions extremely quickly under the circumstances and if you like, firefighting under this new environment we're in.
The Agile startups have got the ability to move really quickly because two things: entrepreneurial spirit, not enough hierarchy around them. They can make joint and quick decisions. I think that's incredibly powerful right now if you've got a purposeful, driven leader that is committed to succeed. Rather than, COVID-19's a big cloud over us. Let's talk again in 4 or 5 weeks. What does the CEO's journey look like? Interesting. So I built a CEO mind map, exactly what a CEO should be doing. And if they're not doing it, they've got to hire people around them to start delivering the skills in order to be successful. It's something that I've used in business workshops and with companies that start talking about management support. And right now, no business model is going to remain the same. So wake up, guys. What you were doing yesterday is not going to be relevant today. Very little will be relevant today. Right now, if you look at what makes up the economics, which is politics, global risks, and all the factors around that, and you start looking at your business, you've actually got to look at every single moving part and component of your business right now and evaluate it. Gone are the days where the CEO says, "I don't want a SWOT analysis." Okay, great. You like the title, but you've got to start delivering the skills. And the emotional wake of transformation now is it can be embryonic, it can be utopia, it can be seen as a blank piece of paper right now, because you've got to start assessing from a risk perspective every single person within your organization, every single moving part of your organization, and you've got to start giving it a risk assessment in terms of what did work, what isn't working, what needs to change, how quickly can I make that change, how quickly can I hire people if I need to, how quickly can we get rid of the people that no longer have an existence within our organization, and how much money do I need in order to drive this success?
Succinct.
Does that make sense?
That's succinct. So that's your CEO. We've talked about the how companies and what they need to do to survive. At the height of the Second World War, there were people in the British and American governments mapping what the post-war world was going to look like, how they were going to plan it, how they're going to deliver it, and things like that. This COVID virus thing will pass, and we will come out the other end. There's going to be a bunch of economic catastrophe that goes with it, not in the least because of drop in productivity, but also there's getting on for 50 years of quantitative easing that is a lot of energy within the system that needs to be released. So there's a lot of people out there who were thinking of starting businesses who are now going, perhaps this isn't the right time. And there's also a lot of people who have suddenly found themselves with a lot of time on their hands. Now, me as an entrepreneur, and I'm sure you as an entrepreneur, is the best time to start a business is right now, regardless of the situation. So with that in mind, you and I have talked about people presenting decks and things like that. How does the entrepreneur now, how does the startup, how do they present themselves now?
The first thing is you started to talk about COVID-19. For me, it's not COVID-19. It's just another world event. And I think we will have other events that will be a part of our business and world life going forward. The severity of these events could be worse, but there certainly won't be less than. They don't take this as a one-off. I think we've got to expect that this will come up. Now, from a political point of view, our governments were not prepared for this, and nor are they prepared for other events which have the same levels of severity, as I quite rightly said. Therefore, global risks need to be assessed, and both economic risks and economic impact needs to be assessed as well. What does that mean to the startup? You're quite right. From an entrepreneurial point of view, this is got to be the best time that you could, execute something which has got a market fit and a market need, and which understands the market itself and grow. What we're seeing, albeit only in the last couple of weeks, is that there is still investment in the market for companies that are prepared and that can demonstrate good leadership, good product or service, and a fast execution. Okay. Now, behind that, in the old days, we would quite rightly just put a deck together, maybe an executive summary, maybe a one-page analysis, and that would be sufficient. Not now. You've got to truly understand your business. Where is the business plan? You've got to be able to speak across the business plan. You've got to go speak with influence and depth, and be able to demonstrate that the model is, you have various models flexible for economic impact and growth. And if you can't demonstrate that, if you can just say, oh, well, this deck is about hope, guys, we hope to achieve this, and you've got the smoke and mirrors scenario coming on, it's never going to work. But true businesses and true entrepreneurs and true chief execs that can demonstrate their business, okay, as a major leading market opportunity, and preparing themselves with a list of due diligence and information requests and inquiries by the VC, the PE, the family office, the debt provider, maybe the bridging provider, or the convertible note, whichever scenario that you're looking at right now has got to be prepared. And the structure of that preparation is far more than it ever was, let's say, in the last 10 years. And we're seeing that start already. So my advice to any budding entrepreneur out there who thinks investment is an easy function, and it's something which they can just go around with a couple of slides, forget it. Those days are over. They're long gone.
Well, I think that's very good advice to people, isn't it? Is that you've actually got to be a bit more grown up about things. Yeah. I'm reminded, as you were talking there, I was reminded of my favourite pitch deck that I show to people is Fire Island, if you remember that one. The very definition of smoke and mirrors, if ever there was one. But no, I agree. Sorry, go ahead.
We do business evaluations, and we've had a massive increase in business valuations probably in the last since January, really. And we spend a day at the office literally just going underneath the bonnet and grilling the team on and around the moving parts, because we've got to evaluate exactly, are they a good risk? Because in the eyes of the investor, if you're not a good risk, you're not going to get funded. It doesn't matter how much you need.
But that sounds a little bit intimidating, that you're going to grill people and go under the hood. But it's not It's not meant to be intimidating. It's just you're having to get down to the very, very fine detail of what the proposition is.
I wouldn't say intimidating, because one of the things that you and I have also talked about in this world is you've got to have transparency, and investors are looking for ethical leadership. They are looking towards trust. They have to be transparent, because it's their money. And if they're going to write a check over to the management team, they got to make sure, and they got to believe that the management team can actually deliver what they're saying they can do, and it's not just another sales pitch. So the bit of work that I have to do is not a bit of work; it's a lot of work, actually, going underneath the bonnet, and I would say it's intense. But if it's intimidating, we need to stop the session, because we can't go any further with that company.
But people should go into that process with you, expecting to have to answer those questions honestly. And
the directiveness is incredible. And most companies that we work with and we're mandated to work with haven't got a problem with that, because they consider it a part of the process. And by the way, there's no shortcuts here. There's no shortcuts.
No shortcuts,
so,
indeed.
If an entrepreneur wants to go, walking the streets of London for 2 or 3 years trying to get funding, good luck. but there's a right way of doing it and there's a wrong way of doing it. I think you've used this term before, back of the cigarette packet, or I think you used back of the fag packet. Those this is a part of also, it's not just about business strategy, it's about understanding due diligence. This is a part of the maturity line. Companies have to grow, and they've got to work from lifestyle business to fully sustained and growth and a part of the community. That's a growth step. That's a paradigm shift for a lot of people who actually don't want anything more than a lifestyle business. So you've got to change, because change is what we're all about. Change is constant. Look, the planets move, we change. This world event is nothing more than another life-changing event, which is a part of our life now.
There is an argument then that people should actually get going with or without investment. They should at least try and make some steps forward, and even better, actually start turning over some money inside the business, i.e. selling stuff, because in my experience nothing sells like success.
You remember the old days? The old days were, an investor would turn around to you and say, what skin have you got in the game? Oh, well, I've given a bit of my time. No, but how much of your money have you put into this business? Well, I haven't. I'm looking for investment. Not good enough. You want me to write you a check, a 7-figure check, several £1,000,000, on the basis that, you've come up with possibly a good idea. Sorry, there's not enough management for just ideas. There's good management around for great ideas that make a difference. And I think that's the difference between the immaturity of somebody who thinks they're just going to get a bit of investment and they're going to burn investors' money and, okay, oh, well, I tried. You didn't really try, because entrepreneurial spirit is actually putting your time, your effort and your money, and you're getting to a point where you are succeeding before you take investment into the business. Investment in the business should be all about accentuating growth. I shouldn't be about, I need a salary. What happened to entrepreneurial spirit?
Well, I think it's coming back with vengeance now, because I think people are being forced into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I really do. It's, Somerset, where I live, isn't the centre of the world, but it's pretty damn close. We've already seen people changing and pivoting really, really fast. And there's a farmer up the road here, is a dairy farmer. He's just started doing deliveries of milk. He arrives with his truck and he fills the bottles up. So it's quite funny, is that everything changes but everything stays the same. And I think
yes.
your point about this is yet another change. There is only that old saying, there is only one constant but change. The audience on founders and mentors, of which you are a member, and a bronze ambassador as well, because you've been inviting people. So that is absolutely made of founders, entrepreneurs and mentors who have a track record of creating good business. Just a couple of things. Where do people find you?
So LinkedIn, obviously, I'm active on LinkedIn on a daily basis. I've got several sites. I've got freedomafterthesharks.com, which is my blogging site, but it's so much more than blogging now. It's a lot of resources. There's videos and everything else. There's the new book, which is Purposeful Discussions. It's an excellent read. And actually, considering everything we've just discussed right now, this will give you tips, serious advice on how to be successful through the fourth industrial revolution, or revolutionary events like we're describing right now. So definitely get a copy of this. There is a website for this book as well, which is purposefuldiscussionsbook.com. And most importantly, ibem.com, which is the business, so it's ib-em.com. That's both Mark Herbert from the US side and obviously myself from the UK side, and that's really sort of talks about our business and the areas, the silos of business that we concentrate on, from business strategy, management support, strategic partnerships and executive boardroom support. So that's active, and again that has a lot of resources and tips and things you can download. And actually there is one more thing, if you can give me 2 more seconds.
Yeah, sure.
There was a very interesting quote by a Frederick August von Hayek, and talking about economics. He once said, "The curious task of economics is to demonstrate to men how little they really know about what they imagine they can design." In this sense, economics lies at the intersection of the natural sciences and the humanities, applying a quantitative, data-driven approach to human behavior. As such, it is one of the most important and relevant skills for the world today, helping us choose wisely when it comes to our personal, social, and professional lives.
Look forward to speaking to you again, Geoff, and thanks very much for your time.
Absolute pleasure, Jake. Thank you.